In previous videos, we looked at an alternate translation of Genesis chapters 1 through 3. We'll do a quick recap before we go into chapter 4. Genesis 1 tells how the Elohim, a group of male and female humanoids, created Earth's atmosphere, the oceans, the plants and trees, put the moon in orbit around the Earth, put the plants and animals here, and gave humans dominion over all of it. All of this, it says, took 6 days, which is 6,000 years. Genesis 2 then explains that after the atmosphere was created, there was war throughout the earth, and in the day when Yahweh acquired the earth, humans and animals were not yet slaves, and plants were wild and not grown on farms. Yahweh then used the humans to build a city in Eden, which was near the Euphrates River. This chapter doesn't tell us exactly when Yahweh acquired the earth, but we're given clues in other chapters of the Bible. For example, Deuteronomy 32, 7 through 10 explains that in the days of old, the Elyon took possession of humans and apparently the earth too, because it says they divided up the land and Yahweh's portion was the desert. This explains why Yahweh used humans to build a city near the Euphrates. It also explains why the Bible says Yahweh is the beast with 7 heads. Babylon was the first head of this beast, and it rose up near the Euphrates in the desert. So after the atmosphere was created, there was war. Some other group took over Earth. Humans were turned into slaves. The land was divided up, and Yahweh was given the desert and began building Babylon, which was known as Eden at the time. Then Genesis 2, 20 through 25 says Yahweh then took a cell from the humans to make a hybrid creature called the Ishah, and this hybrid married the humans. This is what it calls the point of division, when humans forsake their ancestors. In other words, when the ancestral tree divided into 2 breeds, the humans and the hybrid lineages. And it says this represents the bones of the feet, which is a reference to a coded part of the prophecy in the book of Daniel. Then chapter 3 goes into how the hybrids began using the image. The image, it says, was more devious than any sustenance in the territory, and the humans were forbidden to use the shaft in the midst of the enclosure. But the image of the serpent tells the humans in verse 5 that the Elohim know that if they use the shaft, their appearance will blossom, and they will be like the Elohim, be perceived beautiful and favored. Then in verse 6, the hybrids saw that they were pleasant to the eyes when they used it. This implies that the hybrids were not pleasant to the eyes prior to using the shaft. They were not entirely humans, so that would make sense. Then the hybrids also let the humans who were married to them use the shaft as well. So at this point, both the hybrids and the humans who married the hybrids are using a shaft that changes their appearance, makes them beautiful. We know this shaft is a shaft of light because Psalm 104, 1 and 2 tells us Yahweh's clothing is made of light. This clothing of light is the image that was made for the beast in Revelation 13:14. Again, Yahweh is the beast, so it's saying the image was made for Yahweh using the microchip. In other words, microtechnology. So all of this is telling us that the shaft is the image and the serpent is actually an image of a serpent. It tells us that right in the definition of the word. So this person speaking to the humans, telling them about the shaft, is not an actual serpent, but the image of a serpent. In other words, it's someone who's using the image themselves. They are disguising their appearance when they approach the humans, and for whatever reason, they chose the image of a serpent. Revelation 12 refers to them as the dragon, the old serpent. We know this person disguised as a serpent is connected to the Elyon, since all of this takes place in the desert near the Euphrates River, where the Elyon gave Yahweh their portion of the earth, after the Elyon took possession of the earth. And we know they're not part of the Elohim because they appeal to the humans by telling them that the Elohim lied to them, that they won't die when they use the image, it will just make them beautiful. So the Elyon are not part of the Elohim. They are not the creators, they are the thieves. The word Elyon literally means most high, and the highest constellation in the sky is the dragon. So this could explain why Revelation 12 tells us the serpent is the dragon, and then in Revelation 13, the dragon gives power to the beast. The Elyon gave Yahweh their portion of the earth, and Yahweh is the beast. So it sounds like the Elyon may be the dragon that gives power to the beast, the Most High, the highest constellation in the sky. Then Genesis 3 gives us a clue that this use of the image occurs when the branches of the fig tree were sewn together. This is another reference to the end time code. It means the use of the image occurs in the end time, and this is also explained in Revelation 13. They perfected the speech of the image in the end time, which may have allowed them to interact with humans and marry them. We know the fig tree generation is the last generation. This is also explained in Proverbs 30:14. There's a generation that has teeth like swords. It's talking about this hybrid, the Isha. Genesis chapter 6 gives us another clue. In verse 3, alternate translation, it says, "And Yahweh said, My warlike energy and executive power shall not always govern humans, for that they also are flesh deceived, yet their days shall be 120 lifetimes." This 120 lifetimes can be any number of actual years because there are different numbers of years associated with one lifetime or generation. Using the different lengths of one generation in the Bible, 120 lifetimes can equal anywhere from 3,890 years up to exactly 12,000 years. This means that Genesis 6 is saying that Yahweh's warlike rule over earth will last anywhere from 3,890 years up to 12,000 years. This is why the prophecies in the book of Daniel are so important. They tell us exactly where we are in that time frame. In short, it appears that we are literally at the very end of the warlike rule. The warlike rule has an end, it says, despite the fact that humans are flesh deceived. That flesh deception is the image deception. Then in Genesis 3:14-16, it explains why the Elohim forbid the use of the image. They tell the Yahweh that the image will turn their belly to dust, cause hostility between the hybrids and their children, and greatly multiply the pain of childbirth. This is all explained when we understand that the image is used for crossbreeding. Eventually, their belly will be dust. In other words, they will eventually become infertile because they're breeding with another species. But before they're completely infertile, childbirth will be painful for them, and their children will be hostile to them. And this, it says, is the result of interspecies breeding, which is what the image is used for. The Elohim knew this, so they forbid the use of the image. The Bible goes into more detail about this interspecies breeding. The sons of God marry the humans and have children with them, Genesis 6:2-4. They mingle themselves with the seed of humans at the time of the feet, Daniel 2:43. Humans transgress by taking strange alien wives and have children with them, Ezra 10:33-44. Israel is defiled and has begotten strange children, Hosea 5:3-5-7. Strangers have devoured their strength, but they don't know it, Hosea 7:1-8-9. And they bring up their children, but there shall not be a human left, Hosea 9:12. This is describing the breeding out of humanity by the use of the image. In Genesis 3:15, it again makes reference to the feet when it says the hybrid and their offspring will bruise the head and the heel of the foot. Then the Elohim warned the humans in Genesis 3:17-19 that if they use the shaft of harmful prosperity, the image, it will curse the earth, cause sorrow, and they will pay with their ashes. In other words, they will die along with Babylon the Great. But they did it anyway and became famous and lived a renowned life. That's what it says. However, the Yahweh drove them away from Eden because the Yahweh were afraid they would tell everyone else about the shaft there. So they made them coats of skin. In other words, they gave them their image appearance, but made them leave Eden and put up guard around the enchantment tool that transforms. Now, chapter 4 goes into the generations produced from the humans and the hybrids. It says, "And Adam knew his wife Eve, and she bare Cain and Abel." But the most important point here that everyone seems to miss is explained in chapter 5, verse 2. "Male and female he created them, and called their name Adam." This is clear that the name Adam, or Adam, refers to all humans, both male and female. So if Adam is all humans, both male and female, then who the heck is Eve? The word Eve is first mentioned in chapter 3, verse 20, "And Adam called his wife Eve because she was the mother of all living." Well, since Adam is all humans, both male and female, this should say, "And the humans called their wife Eve." But this word translated as wife is the word Isha, and it cannot refer to a human female. We looked at the reasons we know that in earlier videos. Isha means one or certain one. And it's clear in Genesis 3 that the certain one it refers to is the hybrid. The word translated as Eve literally means life or living. We looked at the alternate translation of Genesis 3:20 in the Genesis 3 video. It reads, "But the humans and the Isha became famous and lived a renowned life at the point of division of the community." Okay, so now let's look very closely at chapter 4, verse 1. We already know Adam is all humans, both male and female. Then the word translated as new, number 3045, means to perceive and see. And there's a word next to this that was not translated in the King James. It's word number 853, and it's defined as sign of the definite direct object, not translated in English, but generally preceding and indicating the accusative. Then notice under word origin, it says contracted from word number 226 in the demonstrative sense of entity. Word 226 means sign or distinguishing mark, and it says it probably originated from word 225 in the sense of appearing. In other words, this word coming after new cannot be translated into English, but it has something to do with appearance or a sign or distinguishing mark. So it's saying the humans perceived or saw the appearance of the wife. And this word translated as wife, number 802, again is Isha, and it cannot refer to a human female. It's talking about the hybrids. So it says the humans saw the appearance of the Isha or hybrids and conceived and bare Cain. This makes sense because in chapter 2, verse 23, it said, "The flesh of this one shall be chosen, the Isha will marry the humans." Now it's confirming that in chapter 4. The humans saw the appearance of the Isha and then had children with them. Genesis 3 explained that the appearance of the Isha is the image that deceives. It makes them appear beautiful. So basically it's saying that the humans saw their beauty and mated with them. And this is the first deception. They're unknowingly breeding with hybrids. Like Hosea says, they bring up their children, but there shall not be a human left. This is when it started, right here in Genesis 4. Then notice this untranslatable word is used again right after bear. Word 853, contracted from 226, which means sign or distinguishing mark. So it sounds like the distinguishing mark was also with Cain, the offspring of the hybrids. Since Adam refers to all humans, then Cain and Abel also refer to tribes of more than one person. We'll look at that in a minute. But notice that this word, referring to a distinguishing mark, is not used in reference to Abel. In verse 2, it says, "They bear Abel next," but no reference to the distinguishing mark there. So it appears that the offspring Cain had a distinguishing mark, but Abel did not. Then it talks about how Abel was a keeper of the sheep and Cain was a tiller of the ground. But notice this word translated as tiller number 5647, also means to work or serve. And the word translated as ground, number 127, also means land or earth. So it could be saying that Cain was a servant of the land or earth. Whether or not this had something to do with his distinguishing mark or their distinguishing mark is not clear, but it is possible. Then it says in verse 3 that in process of time, Cain brought the fruit of the earth to the Lord, Abel brought the firstlings of his flock to the Lord, and the Lord preferred Abel's lambs. But notice this word translated as process, number 7093, also means end or at the end of time. So this can also say that Abel brought his flock to the Lord at the end of time, and the Lord approved of Abel's flock, but disapproved of Cain's fruit. Maybe this isn't the complete meaning, but it may be another layer to the meaning because there are references to time travel throughout the Bible. We know Cain kills Abel, but what if Cain is killing Abel throughout time? First, we have to understand that each of these names refers to an entire tribe of multiple generations. Adam refers to all humans, both male and female, Genesis 5:2, and Genesis 5:5 says that all the days that Adam lived were 930 years. The word translated as days, number 3117, also means lifetimes. So it's saying all the lifetimes of the early humans were 930 years. Then when you look at the lifetimes of Seth, 912 years, Enos, 905 years, Canaan, 910 years, etc., it becomes apparent that all of these names refer to not singular people who live almost 1,000 years. It refers to tribes of people who exist for almost 1,000 years. It doesn't say how many years the tribe of Cain or Abel existed, but it does indicate at the end of chapter 4 that Seth was born to replace Abel. However, the 2 chapters prior to chapter 4 seem to cover the entire human history under the beast from beginning to end. Both Genesis 2 and 3 reference the codes that refer to the end time. So it appears that these are the stories of humanity, not just in the beginning, but from the beginning to the end of the age. And this may be true of Genesis 4 as well. There's no complete lineage listed for either Cain or Abel in the Bible, and this may mean that Cain and Abel represent the wheat and tares, the sheep and goats, like Esau and Jacob. Jacob represents Israel, which Jesus told us represents the whole world. 12 tribes that cross the Red Sea on dry land. This is a reference to the Red Sea land bridge that scientists think was the major dispersal route of early humans out of Africa. In other words, Jacob, the smooth one, refers to Homo sapiens, which may mean Esau, the hairy one, refers to the Neanderthals, who scientists believe left Africa earlier than Homo sapiens. In other words, Neanderthals were the firstborn, hairy one, Esau, and the story of Cain and Abel is similar. Cain the firstborn, Esau the firstborn. It appears that Genesis 2, 3, and 4 are each a history of humanity from beginning to end, and Genesis 5 lists the actual lineages of Seth, who is replacing Abel. And then one more thing, in verse 5, notice that it says Cain's countenance fell. The word translated as countenance, number 6440, also means appearance. Remember, Cain had a distinguishing mark, but Abel didn't, and Cain's appearance fell. So the tribe of Cain is using the image, maybe because if they didn't, they would be recognizable as alien. Notice verse 14 uses the same word as verse 5, number 6440, but instead of translating it as countenance, King James translated it as face. And I think this requires a deeper look, so we'll continue this next week. For more information on recent Bible prophecy fulfillments, see the playlist linked here. Thank you to those who make this work possible. If you like this video and want to see more like it, please consider providing support using the link below this video or at indigoflower.net. I hope you're doing well, and we'll continue this next week.